Good morning and welcome to another Breakthrough Ministries. What I've shown you is just a little drawing here. I'm a bit of an artist. I need to fan into flame the gift, but I've drawn a lot of different things. This is just a bird, like a finch or something, sitting on a branch. Basically, where I'm going with all this is, well, number one, utilize your talents, but number two, I just got done doing a teaching series on the book of Proverbs, and Christ at one point sat there and he said, the Queen of Sheba will rise up in judgment against these people in this generation, because she traveled far and wide, thousands of miles maybe, to see Solomon. And he said, behold, one wiser than Solomon is right here. So basically, people did a lot to go and hear Solomon's wisdom, and people still brag about it today. And I read the book of Proverbs from start to finish and did a teaching on it. But Jesus said, one wiser than Solomon is standing right here. So the next thing we're going to do is go through, of course, Jesus' teachings. It's called the Beatitudes. And it's basically how to live your life, what the core of Christianity is, what he wants with you. It covers topics from adultery to anger, to love, to hate, to just everything. Money, revenge, loving your enemies, divorce, vows, just everything. Fasting, everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this about Christ, because a lot of people say I'm a Christian and this and that, but what is it to be a Christian? And this is pretty much where Jesus lays it out. About holding a grudge or forgiving or all these different things. So without further ado, let's get into Matthew chapter 5, the Sermon on the Mount. And just remember that Jesus is wiser than Solomon. So if you want wisdom for your life, this is the place to go to. And the awesome thing about what Christ does is he compares the Old Testament to the New Testament. He says, you have heard it is written, or you have heard it has been said before, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth, right? If someone knocks out your eye, you go knock out their eye. If someone busts your tooth out, you go bust their tooth out. Jesus said, no, don't resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on one cheek, offer him the other. Do not seek revenge. So the cool thing about this Beatitudes is you got Buddha, Confucius, all these people, but it doesn't even compare to the wisdom that Christ lays down. You've heard sayings in your life, and you may not even realize it came from Christ. A house divided shall not stand. Go the extra mile. The Good Samaritan. All these things, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. All these premises of life came from Christ. And it gives us the Beatitudes and his teachings, which is what we're going to study. It gives us an insight into him. So I hope you like it. I hope it's exciting. And if we go back and we look at the bird here, right? You got that little bird there, little finch hanging out. He's not worried about his next meal. Want to know why? Because God's going to provide for him. And in these very Beatitudes, Jesus teaches at one point about not worrying about your life. And you could preach 1,000 sermons on worry and fear and the opposite, faith and being comforted. In today's day and age, everybody's worried about their bills, about politics, about wars, about floods, and just about their everyday life. Here in America, people are struggling to get into America because they can work and get food and have a better life. But even in America, people are concerned about their jobs, about their rent. But Jesus lifts everything off that. He says, you know what? Look at that bird over there. It doesn't worry. It doesn't sow seed and gather into barns. But its heavenly Father is feeding it. And your heavenly Father is going to feed you because you're of more value than many birds. So one last little shot of the finch here. And I'm going to do some more artwork. And maybe I'll put it up here. I've done some really nice stuff of like sunflowers and all kinds of varying artwork. But it's therapeutic. All right. Let's get into the Beatitudes. The Sermon on the Mount. One day, as he saw the crowds gathering, Jesus went up onto the mountainside and sat down. His disciples came around him and began to teach them the Beatitudes. God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him. The kingdom of heaven is theirs. Some translations say, blessed are the poor, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. God blesses those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Other translations say, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. I mean, does it say, blessed are they that hunger and seek after gold and riches and power and fame? They're going to be filled? No. And this goes back to Proverbs. Blessed are they that seek after righteousness, for they shall be filled. There's a weird thing going on in the Bible. If you seek after God, He'll give you, of course, everything you need. The house, the car, the home, everything. But if you seek after those things, you get it twisted and you miss your Creator and you live an unsatisfied life. You can call up any rock star who has he sold his album. He's like, man, I don't know how many behind the music documentaries I saw, but they're like, man, as soon as they could get a record deal, they'd be happy. Then they got the record deal. As soon as they could sell 1 million albums, they'd be happy. They sold 1 million albums, still weren't happy. You know, as soon as they could have a #1 hit, they'd be happy. Got it, weren't happy. As soon as they can have that mansion on the hill and the 14 cars and the hot wife, they'd be happy. Still weren't happy. Why? Because all of man's happiness is in God. It's not in things or even our own self-gratification. I mean, you can look back and say, I've lived a good life, I completed my goals, but there's still something missing. There's still a void, and some people just accept that void. But if you hunger and thirst for righteousness, you'll be filled. You'll be content. You'll be happy. You know, you'll have your life satisfied. So God blesses those who hunger and thirst after righteousness. They'll be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful. They shall obtain mercy. So here we start getting into the type of God that we love to know and worship. He's merciful, and He wants us to show mercy. It's not a vengeful, you know, go cut their heads off. No, it's merciful. It's loving. It's forgiveness. Bless those whose hearts are pure, for they shall see God. Blessed are the pure in heart. They shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted for the kingdom of heaven. For theirs, blessed are those who persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There's a lot of powerful stuff in all that we just read, but we can go on to where He elaborates on that. God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you're my followers. Be happy about it. Be very glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So here you go. You have a great reward in heaven if you teach the Bible and people make fun of you. If you talk about Jesus and people persecute you. If you live a righteous life and people persecute you. Because they persecuted the prophets who were before you. And another thing it goes into, it says, woe to you when all men speak well of you, for so they did of the false prophets. So false prophets tell you what you want to hear. They say, yeah, work your whole life for that BMW and don't worry about righteousness. Right? They say it's okay to commit adultery. Don't worry about it. They say it's okay, you know, to sin. And it's like if you go to a sermon and you just walk away feeling unchallenged, probably didn't help you much. But if it challenged you, it caused you to want to try to cut some sin out of your life, to do a better life, and you might be a little mad at the minister, like, who's he think he is? You need to think twice. Because blessed are they who are persecuted for righteousness and teaching Jesus, right? All right, next thing, you are the salt of the earth. But what good is salt if it's lost its flavor? Can you make it salty again? No, it'll be thrown out and trampled underfoot. So basically, back in the biblical times, the salt was used to cure meat. And it was used to add flavor to food. Remember, we had the spice trade, where people in Europe traveled all over the world to get spices. And one serious thing people need in your body is salt. Plus, food tastes bland without it. So Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth. You're what's good. You're the light. You're the righteousness. You're that 1% of the world doing what's right. Maybe a higher percentage than that. But if you sin, if you falter, if you give up on God, then that's it. Think about it. If you have table salt and all of a sudden it has no flavor, what are you going to season the salt with? Nothing. It's not useful for anything. All right, this is the beginning of Matthew chapter 5. We'll get into more of it. We'll pick up next time, and probably verse 14. So, Jesus wiser than Solomon. And remember that he is leading and guiding you. And I'll try to get some more artwork and more music, because I think people learn best through pictures and through music. You have a great day. Thank you for tuning in to another Breakthrough Ministries.